Hi people, today we will talk about the steps to protect against cyber threats. People all over the world are more or less concerned about their financial conditions, which affects not only the certain standards but of living and perhaps the future. Someone works all his life and then relies on the state pension payments. Others buy material things like houses, cars or even gold. Others decide to invest funds so it is not only preserved but also multiplied. If your choice as an investor fell on the crypto industry, you should remember that there are no banks or other financial institutions and organizations that would store your investment, so they acted as a guarantor of preservation for full control of your funds. Therefore, you become such a guarantor for the security of your assets. Internet security is like an asset. It doesn't come immediately, but accumulates and multiplies with each correct step and decreases if you make the wrong choice. What should modern internet users remember to keep their funds safe? In this video, the QRAX team wants to remind you of the steps that should be taken during daily work on the internet to protect yourself and your personal data from leaks. So the first section is security requires investment. It's what carefully come up with the choice of the software you use. Use only licensed program. If you do not have the opportunity to purchase a license, try to switch to free software. This is more reliable and safer than downloading and using third-party programs to bypass the ways provided by the developers to purchase a license to use their products. And, most importantly, is that also legitimate way to keep your funds with you. Try to install and use antivirus protection tools on all your devices. It will become your vaccine against cyber viruses and most gross security threats. As ordinary viruses, try to overcome the issue comprehensively. For example, a bundle of antivirus software with an VPN works much more efficiently, protecting against a large range of threats than each one individually. Cyber threats are constantly evolving and being modified, so keep the programs you use up to date. Update them on the time all the way out as patches with upgrades are released, especially those containing the security updates and virus signature databases. It is recommended to use a set of programs that consist of antivirus, firewall, VPN and a proxy, with a dynamic system for changing routes. But remember, you have to choose this set responsibly. The ability to work over the Tor network has been added to the QRAX wallet, but this only applies to a wallet that has other levels of protection from external interfaces. Therefore, it is worth remembering that the security of the remaining data on your device is your full responsibility. We also do not recommend participating in beta programs and especially alpha software testing without fully understanding what is happening and the possible risks and threats associated with it. The second thing, we recommend you to use complex passwords. Complex passwords consisting of insignificant combinations of letters, numbers and symbols, at least 8 characters long. This will make the task of selecting a password for attackers as difficult or impossible as possible. To create and store a password, you can use a password manager, a secure storage with functions for generating new passwords, for example KeePass, or embedded in a browser such as Google Chrome. Use different passwords for different systems, websites, email, wallet, exchanges and others. If possible, update all passwords at least once every 6 months, and preferably every 2 or 3 if you have the possibility. Try not to enter your passwords on unfamiliar or on public devices, and definitely do not save it there. The next important thing is to never publish your secret keys. A secret key, which is a secret phrase, is generated for you while creating a wallet. This is like a CSV code on the card, which cannot be transferred to the third parties because they will be able to manage your balance as their own. This means that its spread is directly security threat to your savings. Therefore, its distribution and publication in open sources such as social network or forums is the strictest taboo. Remember that keys are generated in pairs specifically. The public key can and should be distributed to operate with your funds, but the private key is only for you. Therefore, keep it in a safe place and do not tell anyone. So the next very important block is protection of your data. The most important files, such as databases with passwords or JSON files from wallets, are stored not only the PC hard drive but also on removable media, external hard drivers, or in cloud storage. This will protect you not only from encryption viruses but also in case of a breakdown or loss of access to your device. Thus, it allows you to maintain control over your digital assets even in unforeseen circumstances. For everyday work in the operation system, use an account without administrator preference. This will limit the ability of viruses to change and transfer data. Also, provide the antivirus software with the opportunity to identify and eliminate the threat and has risen. If there are no intentions to collect public donations or payment that require full transparency, placing the address in public place, such as a website or social network, is an unbalanced decision when it comes to privacy. If the address is already published, it's worth remembering that when transferring funds from the published address to other wallets, it will be linked by a transaction with the published address, and record of the will remain in the blockchain registry. In addition, it is also worth remembering to be careful and do not publish information about the transactions and purchases that may allow someone to identify the address used by you. So the next important thing to remember is that you have to store your crypto assets on reliable wallets. Even if you are trading on an exchange, you should not transfer all your funds to the account. It's enough to withdraw the amount necessary for trading. After all, you do not withdraw all the savings from the account, and you definitely will not sell shares just to go to the store, for example, for milk. This is not necessary. It's enough to take the necessary amount with you, perhaps with a small margin, but definitely not everything. The QRAX wallet provides an opportunity not only to store funds, but also to earn them directly in the wallet application. If you store coins in a QRAX wallet, then you will receive additional dividends for mining and the size of your partner network. There is also the possibility of creating a node to maintain the network and ensure its security. In this case, you will be additionally credited with QRAX coins. The next good advice is to distribute your crypto assets across several wallets. Minimize the risks of losing everything by distributing funds to different wallets and currencies. Even if scammers or hackers can get the access to your fund, you will be protected from the complete bankruptcy if you have several different wallets. This is simple. Also, you should not use the same password everywhere or store it in one place. Your task is to save and accumulate funds, not to facilitate theft. Use the new addresses to receive payments. To protect your privacy, you should use a new blockchain addresses every time you receive a new payment. In addition, it's worth taking advantage of the opportunity to use different wallets for different purposes. This will isolate each of your transactions in such a way that it's impossible to link them all together. People who send you money can't see what other addresses you own and what you do with it. This is probably the most important piece of advice you should keep in mind. Also, a good advice is to always use two-factor authentication. To further protect yourself, activate two-factor authentication. This simple step will become an additional barrier for the attackers, and it will allow you to save your crypto assets. Try to use different levels of protections, so if you log in by email, then 2FA should be activated on the phone. Maybe it could be SMS or a special application, and vice versa. When you log in by phone number, you should not use SMS for the second level of protection. The next important advice is never invest more than you can afford to lose. The risks are borne not only by the attackers, but unfortunately by ourselves. Everyone is an object of emotions, so we can fall for it and make it too big a bet, which will cause irreversible changes for your financial portfolio. Remember that the cryptocurrency market is extremely volatile, and this volatility is sometimes momentary. What may seem like risky but an extremely profitable step can become a fatal mistake. Risk only those funds that you will be able to win back to other trades. Most market players do not exceed the threshold of 10% of their portfolio for one transaction. So the next very important and very simple advice is that always double check your sending and receiving addresses. There are clipper viruses, from the term of clipboard, that can substitute the address of the recipient of funds at the time of copying and pasting it into the field for sending funds. Therefore, when making a transfer of funds, take extra time to make sure that the address you enter is correct. Even if you have already done it 1,000 times, doesn't matter. Just one wrong symbol and your funds will never return to you, because every transaction in the blockchain is irreversible, which means that after sending the funds, you will no longer be able to cancel the transfer. The QRAX team has added an address book function to the crypto wallet, which allows you to avoid such a threat of address substitution, but it remains possible for addresses that pass through the clipboard of your device. And we also recommend you keep all your passwords in a safe place, as well as funds that should not be stored in one place. It's not necessary to collect passwords, secret keys, and codes for 2FA in one place. Try to protect yourself by choosing the most reliable places to store confidential information. For example, if you have some safe passwords in a browser, you should not remember the secret key. It is safer to store it separately. Yes, we have repeated to ourselves once again, but this is extremely important. A complex password stored in security place is mandatory. The password from the QRAX wallet cannot be decrypted with the current development of technologies, as well as in the foreseeable future, of course. However, if you send it to scammers or save in, for example, insufficiently securely, your funds may be stolen. So guys, very important just to be vigilant. Fraudsters use different ways to compromise the personal data. Spam and phishing are among the most frequent, around 49% for 2020. Therefore, check all the attachments received by email and with the help of course, antivirus software. Verify the address is correct and that there are digital certificates of authority if you need to enter personal data on some website. Be careful about the sites with incorrect certificates and keep in mind that the data entered there can be intercepted by the hackers. If possible, visit the sites using the HTTPS protocol. Be extremely careful when entering confidential information on the website and credentials of the site. Be extremely careful when entering credentials on the website, and while working with the online payments, check the address of the resource with accuracy to sign, in order not to fall for the risk of intruders. Do not click on the links of unknown suspicious resources, especially when the browser warns you of a danger. This rule also applies to sites that you have previously used. During your absence, it could have been interfaced with the viruses or its security certificate expired, which puts your data on a huge risk. Do not click on the links from the pop-up windows, even if the advertised company or product is very familiar to you. If you are interested in advertising, it would be more prudent to Google the product you're interested in or in an advertising company. Since the network of nodes used by working in Bitcoins is a peer-to-peer network, it remains possible to listen to transaction repeaters and register the IP address it used. Since the network of nodes used in working with Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer network, it remains possible to listen to transactions repeaters and register the IP address used. Clients with a full node relay user transactions in the same way as their own funds transfers. This means that finding the source of a particular transaction is difficult but impossible, and a Bitcoin node can be mistaken for the source of a transaction when it is not. However, the information comes to the validation node itself from your IP address. That does not give you a full guarantee of confidentiality for the users of the Bitcoin blockchain, and it forces us to resort to the additional means to protect our privacy. QRAX uses a two-rank system to build a working network, where masternodes are separate from the other nodes of user wallets. Thus, connecting to the masternodes to collect IP address becomes pointless, since it will be possible to find out only the addresses of the other masternodes, but not only users in any way. But to increase the level of privacy, the developers provided a built-in function of connecting to the Tor network to hide information about the physical location of the transaction source. This means that the user can choose whether to openly transmit his IP address to the node or keep it in secret. Thus, in order to maintain anonymity and avoid unnecessary attention to yourself and your financial, of course, stored in the blockchain, it's worth to use different addresses for different purpose. And of course, ideally, only one address per one transaction. You can also use the Tor network to hide your physical location, which can be set by the IP address you use. And the next very important thing is verify what you are uploading. Do not download files from suspicious web resources or from other unknown resources. And check the files downloaded from the internet with antivirus software. If it is impossible, then the files can be checked on free antivirus services, for example, VirusTotal. And the last very important advice, that is, there is no secret ingredient. If you follow all the previously listed recommendations, then the attackers only have the opportunity to fraudulently get your funds. They can go to the trick and not ask you for data or money directly. Therefore, always think about who and what information you are reporting. Always beware of fraud and never send money to anyone in the hope of getting additional profit. The developers of the QRAX wallet have protected their product from external interference, but they cannot guarantee and therefore bear responsibility for the infection of your device with viruses and possible data leaked through other ways available on the internet. Also, the QRAX team does not store your secret data or funds. They do not ask you to transfer it to the accounts of the administrator or any third party. QRAX values your privacy and security as its own. Therefore, the team never asks you to disclose any compromising data. Remember that your safety and the safety of your funds are more your responsibility. And the QRAX team will continue to work on improving its software product to ensure maximum reliability and confidentiality of system users for the benefit of the common future. Okay guys, thank you for watching this video. We hope that these advices were very useful for you. See you next time.